Welcome to the Susan LoPresti Wellness Mind, Body, and Soul podcast. This is the go-to space for midlife and mature women who are ready to reclaim their health, boost their energy, and live long, vibrant, and purposeful lives. Each week, we dive deep into natural wellness, holistic healing, anti-aging strategies, and healthy lifestyle habits to help you feel your best physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whether you're navigating menopause, working through chronic conditions, or simply wanting to age gracefully and intentionally, this show is your sanctuary for science-backed insights, powerful stories, and soul-nourishing inspiration. If you're a woman over 40 or 50 or older looking to thrive in this next chapter of your life, you're in the right place. Today, I'm very excited to introduce you to Kirsten Karchmer. She is a leading women's health expert, mind-body medicine pioneer, and the founder of Conceivable. With more than 25 years of experience helping women thrive through menopause and midlife, Kirsten is dedicated to giving women real, practical tools that actually work. No fluff, no fear, and no overwhelm. Blending the best of integrative medicine, nervous system science, and accessible lifestyle strategies, Kirsten has helped thousands of women transform their experiences of their 50s and 60s and beyond. Her mission is very simple. It's to help women feel strong, energized, clear-minded, and deeply connected to their bodies during one of the most powerful phases of life. Kirsten is known for breaking down complex hormone and health concepts into down-to-earth guidance that women can use immediately, from emotional resilience to sleep, stress, blood sugar, and symptom relief. She empowers women to take back control of their well-being on their terms. In this episode, Kirsten's going to share how mind-body medicine can totally change your menopause experience, the big three after 50, stress, sleep, and blood sugar, and why they drive everything. Simple daily lifestyle habits to actually improve brain fog, weight, and hot flashes. The truth about menopause myths and how to figure out what really works for you, why community, connection, and self-advocacy are essential in midlife, inspiring real-life stories of women who are absolutely crushing it after 50. Warm, relatable, refreshing, honest, Kirsten is here to show us that midlife isn't the beginning of decline. It's the beginning of knowing yourself, trusting yourself, and thriving like never before. Kirsten, welcome to my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you coming on, and I'm really excited to begin this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. I really am excited to dig in deep, and I'm excited we're going to have a great conversation.
I think so too. So I want to start out with, you talk a lot about the mind-body medicine for midlife women. How would you explain what that really means and why it matters, especially during menopause?
hmm So I think that as I'm in my 50s, as we get older, we take on more and more responsibility. And what I see clinically is that we have less time and resources to care for ourselves, right? Just the ever expanding, and that's whether you have children or not, just like our work responsibilities, our life responsibilities, our own parents. And so there's less and less time for us to actually really care for ourselves. And so what happens is we just start pushing through, fatigue and insomnia and menopausal symptoms. And we're like, I can just do it. I'll just push through. I don't have time to go to the doctor. I don't have time to even go get a supplement. I don't have time to cook right now. And so we lose our innate wisdom for really being able to slow down enough to listen to what our body is asking for and give it to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what most women go through.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, how can a woman's mindset or emotional state actually influence her physical symptoms during menopause?
Well, it depends, that if we look at quantum mechanics and physics, we know that what we believe is what becomes our reality.
Hmm.
And in menopause, we can get so agitated, me included, and irritable and negative. We can actually get very negative and hopeless, sort of. And we have to be really careful about that because what we continually tell ourselves over and over, we are manufacturing as our reality. And so, even I work with a lot of women who are struggling to get pregnant. And when they'll say, well, I've been infertile for like 3 years, and I was like, I don't ever want you to say that again.
Yeah.
I mean, to say, I've been on a journey to motherhood for the last 4 years. I've been
Yes.
improving my fertility over the last 4 years. And so this way we are communicating to our subconscious, I'm healing, right? And I always tell people to use, like with their partners, if they have a gentle partner or best friend or somebody you talk to often, to play this game. I think Joyce Dweck from Mindset came up with this, and it's called Okay If You Say So. And you just say, we're going to play a game. You just tell the people that you're close to and that can play sweetly. And anytime I say something that's limiting in any way or negative, I would love it if you would say really sweetly, okay, if you say so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reframe it in a positive way. And I want to give you an example of how this happened at our house. I was playing with my children. They were like teenagers. And my daughter was really sick, and I really wanted to take her to Hawaii to just, her nervous system was so blown out from this chronic pain from her illness. And I kept saying, I just want to take you to Hawaii for like a month and I just want to get you in the ocean every single day, like as much as possible. But we just can't afford it. It's so expensive to go there. And my daughter says, okay, if you say so. And I was like, I really want to get you to Hawaii. I want to get you to the water every single day, and I'm going to be unfucking stoppable at figuring out how to do that. And she's like, I like that one better. I still don't, I still didn't have the money, right?
Right.
But it's a different attitude. And it's our attitudes that actually have more power than anything at all. And
Yeah.
then what happened is I was visiting Hawaii. I have some friends who live there, and we were sitting around drinking margaritas, and they were like, when are you going to come back? And I was like, well, I want to come for a month, but I haven't figured out how to make it affordable yet. And one of the guys at the table said, I live in Austin. I have a house in Austin, which is where I live. And he's like, I'm going to be in my Austin house the whole month of July. You guys just come take my place.
Wow.
Right? It's just living in possibility. And so, one, we have to work, like it makes it a lot easier if we can help the hormones and help women to regulate and harmonize those in a natural and efficient way. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you can actually impact your hormones by staying out of flight or fright. And we start getting stressed and worried and anxious, our nervous system thinks we're afraid and we pop into flight or fright. And this is really hard on menopause because then we start overproducing adrenaline. We don't need all that inflammation. We already are inflamed as it is. And then we start super producing cortisol.
Hmm.
And cortisol, of course, we're already trying to lose our belly fat, but we can't when we have that much cortisol. But also, cortisol is made from the same stuff we make progesterone from. And we do still have low levels of circulating progesterone even after we stop menstruating. And so, if we're putting ourselves in flight or fright with our minds, overthinking, perseverating, hypervigilance, then we're actually overproducing cortisol and underproducing progesterone, which is going to, and progesterone is the thing that helps us feel calm,
Yeah.
right? So, we're really shooting ourselves in the foot when we do that.
Right. So my next question was going to be, what's one surprising way that women can start regulating their nervous system? But I think you just answered that question, right? By changing your mindset.
And being really vigilant. You won't even hear how negative you are. Like when
Yeah.
I played this game, everything that came out of my mouth was, and this is even like if you're worried about your children, you're creating like, I'm just worried they're going to burn out, or I'm just worried they're going to whatever. That's a negative future that you're creating for them. But the one thing that I would add to that is, if the thing that was to me so valuable is to start looking at your heart rate variability. If you wear an Apple Watch, most wearables are tracking heart rate variability. And
Yes.
to be clear, heart rate variability isn't heart rate. It's not resting heart rate, it's how much variation between beats. And that metric is the single best predictor of longevity. And it is basically measuring how resilient you are to your environment. So, and how quickly you can get your vagus nerve, which runs along the side of your neck, how robust the vagus nerve is it pulling you out of flight or fright when the danger is gone. So when that number is really low, even if like we're recording this episode right now, but maybe outside my window there was a really loud crash, maybe somebody backed into somebody, right? Everyone's like, and both of us were like, "Whoa, that was so loud." Okay, immediately I go into flight or fright, and you might too, right? Because we're like, "Whoa, what was that? You know, was that a bomb? What was going on?" Person whose heart rate variability is above 100, in 15 minutes, you re-regulate, you're back to rest and relax. Low variability, the nervous system, like, oh my God, that was so scary. Oh my God, you're telling your friends, oh my God, the scariest thing happened. And then you get re-traumatized again. And then you're just sitting in flight or fright for 8, 10, 12, even 24 hours. And again, when we're in flight or fright, pumping out adrenaline and cortisol, it's really working against us. No healing can happen in flight or fright. So getting really acquainted with your heart rate variability can be really, really helpful. We use our ring, we have a ring that we built because the ring does two important things for our, post-menopausal women. On, we start really getting harder and harder to stabilize blood sugar. We have to be more and more careful with that. And I want to know, and I interviewed 16,000 people last year, and only 5 of them knew their blood sugar status. Like,
Wow.
is your blood sugar high, low, or normal? Almost everybody said, I have no idea. And so I was like, yeah, but like if you know your blood sugar is high and you start upping the protein and fiber and fat, when your blood sugar stabilizes, one, your mood is going to be a lot easier and your symptoms are going to be better as well.
I want to go back to the heart rate variability for a moment. What is the healthy range that we should be looking for?
So I like there's a few like there's various information and not very much unfortunately on women across their reproductive journey. I'm plan on documenting all of that, but I like to see above 100. I have MS, and when I was in the hospital last year and I was on a mega dose of steroids for a whole week. And when I came out, I didn't feel very good, obviously, and my HRV went down to 6. And I was like, well, I'm dead, and then started really working on it and was able to get it up above 100. And the difference when your heart rate variability is 6, everything scares you. Like, oh my God, that you startled me. Oh, no, 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 whatever. And when your heart rate's 100, you just don't care about anything. Like, it's weird. People are pulling in front of you and you're like, it's okay. You're just so much less reactive because you're not afraid, right? All those, I suspect that those reactions are from underlying fear, right?
Yeah.
And resilience. And so I would, even though like there's data that say that like 50 is average, but I feel like 50 is not optimal at all. Like don't stop with 50. I use a device called the Pulsetto, which is a vagus nerve stimulator, which if you are really stressed or your heart rate variability is consistently really low, it may be worth trying for a month. They give it, you can return it after a month. So I would say get it, use it twice a day for a month. And if your HRV doesn't come up like by 20 or 30 points, then return it.
I want
It's
to
nice.
write that down. How do you spell that?
Pulsetto.
Okay.
And it goes around your neck. It's plastic and it has 2 little metal balls. You put some lubrication on your neck and then you put this, and then it delivers a microcurrent to your vagus nerve, which is basically like weightlifting for the vagus nerve.
Oh, wow.
Strengthens the function of the and stimulates the function of the vagus nerve. And it's so easy because you just put on like I could be doing it while I was recording this call. Like you wouldn't know. It's just like it's a little bit. Be careful. Start with a small like intensity because at first it's like, woo, that's a little bit grabby. So start with a low number and then you can build up intensity.
Okay, that's great advice. Thank you.
Just make sure if you use it because you have lube on your neck and if it dries, it looks like something else. And just don't go out in public with the dried lube on your neck because
Okay.
then there can be embarrassing things happening.
Thank you for that tip as well. I want to go on to some daily habits that a woman should be doing to actually improve brain fog, also their weight and hot flashes. What would you suggest?
So, start with it because those are 3 different things, right? For hot flashes, the vagus nerve is really important in hot flash. And
Oh,
so anything that we can do to help the vagus nerve will help. So in addition, if you don't want to get the pulsetto, a free thing that you can do is breath work. And there's a YouTube channel called Breathe with Sandy. It's
Okay.
free. He has at least 50 different breath work from like 10 minutes all the way up to maybe an hour and a half. And I used to do it just myself, like I'm going to do 5 minutes of 4-7-8 breathing or whatever. And then I
Uh,
started doing it as a class, and that produces a completely different result. Like when you're not doing it your pace, you're following his pace, your breath holding, all these things. It's really, really, and he makes it super easy, super, super easy. And so check out Breathe with Sandy. I think I'm probably his biggest referrer because I'm like, Breathe with Sandy, he's so good. Okay, hot flash, brain fog. So reducing alcohol, sugar, and refined carbohydrates are some of the best things for brain fog. Once you do that, if that's not enough, I like a Chinese medicine formula called Zhengqi Tong, and I can write that down for you at some place. There's not an English name for it. Probably get it on Amazon. Just be really careful, take the least amount that you can. And then once the brain fog clears, stop taking it. It's very drying. It literally dries the fog up. But if you take too much of it, it's going to make your hot flashes worse because you're going to dry up the fluids that help keep your body temperature regulated. So, what I would say is like use it for 1 or 2 days. And then if you're like, oh, okay, I'm back, then stop taking it. And then if it comes back, take it for 1 or 2 days after that and start paying attention to the external environment. How humid is it? If it's raining, is your brain fog worse? Then, in particular, that is going to be really helpful.
mm,
The other thing that I find to be incredibly helpful for brain fog is the adaptogen coffees. So,
yes.
mud water, Joey is cheaper than mud water and tastes almost exactly the same. You get energy, you get focus, and you get a little happiness out of it.
That's excellent advice. I'm writing all of this down.
And
Excellent.
and and both of those things are very good for weight loss. The thing that helped me was improving your gut. So as we get older, we're just not eating as well. We're tired, we're stressed, our heart rate variability is low, which can affect the gut. We don't sleep well. And so I use a combination of, for 90 days, colostrum, like grass-fed colostrum,
Uh-huh.
and digestive enzymes, and making sure that you're getting enough fiber every single day for 90 days. For the most part, that really improves gut health overall. And because when you have better gut health, you'll have significantly less brain fog.
Wow, that's also great advice. I was going to ask you about that, but what was the other? Oh, blood sugar. That was see, I have brain fog right
Me
now.
too, baby. Me
Blood
too.
sugar is something that many women really don't think about, right? And I don't believe that there's any symptoms that you get if your blood sugar is elevated or not. So, how does blood sugar regulation impact weight? Weight gain and brain fog or hot flashes. It has a negative effect, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And more, it makes you feel really badly. And so, and when our blood sugar is consistently high, it's like sugar in the blood is extremely inflammatory.
yeah.
So you think about like the higher that my blood sugar is, the more that my cells, organs, and tissues are breaking down faster. Right, because that inflammation is like acid, this is the same thing with adrenaline because it's so inflammatory. It's intentionally inflammatory to give you resources to survive something really dangerous. And so, but not blood sugar. And so we really want to pay attention to that. If you think about your high blood sugar, instead of like thinking about like, I'm going to use my blood sugar to fix my symptoms, think about your blood sugar is your check engine light, one of your like markers on your check engine light that your body is changing and it needs you to care for it in a different way. So you need to eat different. And you can use supplements like berberine, chromium, B vitamins, like a good methyl B complex. All of those things can be incredibly beneficial.
Okay. So this is before you're actually getting to the point where you're diabetic. This is like a
Correct.
precursor to diabetes.
Correct. Correct.
And if you catch it early enough, you could actually reverse that.
You can reverse diabetes.
I know, but most people that I know that have diabetes, they don't do enough to reverse it. That's what I see. It's very frustrating. Like I have family members who have diabetes and they just would rather take insulin and believe that they could eat whatever they want.
One thing that I have learned, like before I wanted everybody to do it my way, and just in the last few years, I've just been really practicing not having an agenda.
Yeah,
And all we can do is give people information and they're on their health journey. Now, sometimes when I'm working with people and they're not making behavior change, sometimes that's diagnostic information. So, say the person doesn't have cervical discharge and she's trying to get pregnant, and so then I'm going to say, "Well, how much water are you drinking?" "Oh, I don't drink very much water." "Okay, well, your intervention is to start getting 80 ounces of water every single day." But the reality is that dehydration has a really negative effect on our periods and our hormones and our fertility and our eggs. And that cervical discharge is just the signal, right? But if I say, okay, I want you to drink more water, but then in 2 weeks she's not drinking more water, a lot of the times we're like, she's lazy or whatever, but that's not true. So you have to figure out why they're not doing that behavior. So is it because you're not thirsty? That's a clinical question. That means I need to ask more questions to figure out what's impacting her level of thirst. Or
hmm,
I'm forgetting. And if I'm forgetting, then we need behavioral modification, right? We need to make it smaller. We need to have one step that she can win every single day. And if she doesn't care, my people trying to get pregnant, they do care. But some
yeah.
people, like the people in your family, they might just be like, it's just not that important to me. Okay, next.
And you have to let it go, right? Let it go.
Because there's a trillion people behind those few people that don't want to do, who would love to have your help.
Yes.
And so, it's like those people who don't want your help, they really don't want your help. And the people who do want your help really do want your help and they will love you and it won't be a fight. And I mean, I used to kick people out of my practice all the time because they wouldn't do any behavior change. And I would say, look, I'm going to refer you to somebody else who doesn't care about their outcomes because I like to win. I'm a type A quintuple Virgo. I like to win. I was a competitive athlete my whole life. And if you're not going to do the stuff that's going to help me to help you to have a baby, then we should not work together.
Right.
People say, I don't want to take my temperatures. I'm like, okay, I'm going to refer you to somebody else who doesn't care about their outcomes because I need your temperatures to know what's wrong. And then I need your temperatures to prove that what we're doing is either working or not working so I can come up with a new hypothesis.
Yeah.
And it's not mean, it's just like we're not a fit.
Right.
And if you're going to
Exactly.
spend a lot of money with me, you should work with somebody who wants to meet you exactly where you're at.
Exactly. Yes. And I guess that's the way I have to deal with family members too. It's a very good point. So, as far as menopause, there's a lot of conflicting theories about what are some of the biggest myths that you believe are holding women back?
Well, I think that, again, I'm trained in Western medicine and Chinese medicine. I don't have
Yeah.
any aversion to allopathy. So I want to be perfectly clear about that. I just think that, like, the first line of defense when people are having menopausal symptoms is we should just be trying to figure out what the underlying issues are for them. Because just like infertility, it's not you just take a pill and it fixes your infertility. Your fertility is a reflection of how you're living and eating and digesting and sleeping and chemicals and all that. And how you experience menopause is very similar, right? Some people will have one symptom, some people have 20 symptoms, some people have every symptom, some people will have, and each of those symptoms, so each presentation is different. So the fastest way to improve your symptoms is to look at all of your individual symptoms and then either work with somebody or get help figuring out how are those things connected to each other and what are the like 3 or 4 things if we look at those underlying issues that's going to basically address the underlying issues of those. And that is insanely effective, right? The myth is this like read a menopause book and do everything that's in it and drive yourself crazy is very big waste of time. Reading the book, you'll learn stuff for sure, but
Yeah.
kind of like a cookie cutter approach to anything in women's health is it may work a little bit because usually you're eating better, you're taking a little bit of supplements, but if you want to get like I believe in like targeted results, right? I want to get results that I can not only predict, right? If you do this for like if you do colostrum and digestive enzymes, you will have hardly any gut problems in 90 days. I can practically guarantee that. Like just over and over and over and over again. But not always. And other things like we have to hypothesize, like will breath work actually improve your cervical discharge if you're not drinking water? I don't know.
Right. So, because I know when I was going through menopause and I would go to my gynecologist, she really didn't offer any advice. So, what kind of doctor would someone who's going through all of these symptoms and doesn't know how to handle it, what type of a doctor would you suggest they go see?
I would see, I mean, there are some physicians who are doing more functional type medicine in
Yeah.
the menopause space. So that's what I would be looking for. I would go on to GPT and say, I'm looking for sort of a functional focused OB-GYN who like specializes in menopause. Because even a lot of the OB-GYNs are now, some of them are not delivering babies, especially as they get older, and focusing, their practice is starting to focus on menopause. And a lot of them can be seen remotely. So even if your insurance doesn't cover it, it's possible that you can have a consultation with that doctor and then get recommendations and then take that to your regular OB-GYN and say, here, run the test so that my insurance pays for it, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. You kind of have to piece it together.
That's great advice. Because when I was going through perimenopause and I was having all kinds of issues, my doctors were telling me that it was perfectly normal for a woman of my age to feel that way. And I was like, okay, but what could we do about it? Well, you just have to ride it out. And I could not
The
accept that
worst.
as
Yeah.
I was like, no, no, there's got to be more to it. And so I did see a functional medicine doctor here in New York City, and she completely changed my life, honestly.
Mm.
I went on bioidentical hormones. She did all kinds of testing. She actually found out that I had celiac disease, which no one else even thought to look at that because I had all kinds of gut issues. And I was being told it was normal. Oh, yes, you're going to have a lot more bloating. You will have a lot more gas. And I was like, yeah, but I don't recall my mom going through that.
Even if she did, though, your mom probably just didn't mention it, right? Because
Right.
it was just so taboo, like it was, I remember for my mom, only when she would have a hot flash, she's like, I'm about to explode, but because you can't, when you have a really bad hot flash, it is like, if you haven't had a hot flash, if you're listening, it's just the hottest. It's just, I'm so cold. I have like 96 body temperature. I'm so cold. But I was having, when I first had menopause, such bad that I had stained concrete floors in my house. And I would get up in the middle of the night, even in the winter, and take all my clothes off and lay on the cold concrete floor to try to
Wow.
cool my body down. I was like, oh my God, my skin's gonna melt. I'm so hot. And then I would warm up the cold floor and have to roll over onto a section, in my front. And so yeah, it's
It's
intense.
funny, but it's not funny when you're going through it. It's
Exactly.
hell.
It is. You do.
Yeah.
You feel like a human volcano. Well,
Yes.
maybe put in the show notes I don't know if that physician can work with, patients outside of New York State, but maybe the listeners might want to connect with her if they're looking for a functional doctor.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think I'll do that. Do you see some common mistakes that women make when they're trying to manage symptoms on their own?
Yes, they go on TikTok and they watch a TikTok and somebody's like, I took this and then I cured my menopause. And then you can buy it right on TikTok. And then TikTok is very persuasive, more so than Instagram, because it's like as soon as you even watch one of those videos, then you get a whole bunch of like, you should take this, you should take this, you should take this, you should take this. And I would caution you against taking anything from almost anybody on TikTok. Talk to your doctor, spend a little bit of money to get somebody to help you. Like a couple $100 will make a huge difference in your life if you can get somebody guiding you. Also, there are a few people, there's a lot of people who are, doing like menopause classes and things like that. And
Hmm.
those are pretty affordable ways to sort of get a little bit more targeted if you don't have a huge budget. I was trying to figure out how do we make this accessible for all people?
Yeah. Right. So what about you emphasize the importance of community during midlife? Why do women need that connection more at that point than ever before?
I think first because I can only speak for myself, but that like as we enter perimenopause and menopause, we start coming into our own season.
Yeah.
If we had kids, our kids are growing up. We don't have as much responsibility. If we have a career, our careers are starting to ripen, hopefully, and we're changing. And the people that we're friends with were the people who are our kids' parents. you know, and
Yes.
they may or not be the people to shepherd us into this next, they were the people that some of them you keep, but a lot of them, they're like, we're just friends because our kids are friends.
Yes.
But really finding your tribe of people who really want to take the next phase of life powerfully, beautifully, without regret, gracefully, I think is really important. And also, if we look at the blue zones are the areas in the world where people live the longest.
Yes.
Community and connection is one of the most important predictors of longevity. And as we get into our 40s, it gets harder and harder to make friends. We just don't get as many opportunities in my 50s. And so we have to work a little bit harder at finding that tribe. Look for meetups. There's often a lot of really good meetups in most cities that you could start trying to kind of build a community. But even in those blue zones, community was more impactful than drinking or smoking,
Wow.
right? They drink in almost all of the blue zones, but they drink stuff that's made locally, right? In Greece, they're drinking wine that was, from a local farmer or whatever. And even a lot of them smoke.
That's shocking.
It is shocking. It is. But maybe they're smoking, like, I don't know if they're smoking like homemade, probably not tobacco. But yeah, but that's just the point that community is really important. And who do you want to age with?
Right.
And having a group of people around you who understand, right? When you're like, I'm losing my mind, I feel like it can, I remember feeling like I must have dementia. My brain was just not sharp anymore. I just felt so dumb. I'd be even recording episodes, and in the middle, I'd be like, what were we talking about? Just completely, I was like, I must have dementia or Alzheimer's. And so it's really scary. And so to have, people who are a few years older than you, a few years younger than you, who can say, no, 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 baby, that's completely normal. It'll pass. Like it will get better, but let's, whatever.
Yeah. But you still have to really, as we're aging, protect your brain in every possible way. Could you offer some advice with that?
Yeah. So, breath work is one of the best ways to protect your brains.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're just really getting oxygen, and it improves circulation. It especially improves circulation to the pelvis, which is good for our eggs and our ovaries and our vaginas, which can atrophy with age, and even our labia. And there's a guy on YouTube, Breathe with Sandy is my
Yeah.
favorite, and free, he has a free class, and he has many, many free classes. Oh, we already talked about it. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm
And
going to definitely, but I didn't realize that breath work would help with brain health.
right, circulation is really important. So
Yeah.
exercise is the next one. And just a little bit, like over exercising and doing things like CrossFit, to me are a mistake in menopause. I found, like, even after being a competitive athlete, I can exercise, like I walk a lot, and then I do like push-ups, sit-ups, and a few other things. And I do like little Chinese exercises. And that's about what my body wants right now,
Hmm.
and so movement. But what's better is, instead of doing an hour of CrossFit or any kind of hour-long workout, is what I would rather see people doing is a 10-minute walk after every meal.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because it's so, especially go outside, even if it's snowing, even if it's raining, use an umbrella, go get some fresh air, move your body, right? That's the best way, because we're basically circulating energy and resources, taking a mental break, making sure the brain health is like figuring out how to sleep. And that can be quite a challenge in menopause, I know, but sleep is going to be really important. And I use some senolytics. Senolytics are supplements that help. Basically, you have your cell, and then there's some trash in the cell. And the senolytics help to clean out the cell. I think there's some, what's it called? I cannot remember the name, but I will email it to you.
Okay. Yeah.
Qualia is the brand. Qualia.
Qual
Qualia. Yeah, quality. And what's nice about that is you just take it for 2 days a month. There are other ones you can take
oh,
every single day, but I like that one.
interesting. I'll look that up too. The other thing I wanted to ask you, do you notice that a lot of women during menopause, they end up getting divorced?
I don't know if it's a lot. Certainly people do. I think people get divorced a lot these days, but it wouldn't surprise me because it is a tough time for couples.
Yeah, this is my theory on it. At that point in your life, your children are pretty much on their own.
Hmm.
And as women, we've been so accustomed to always taking care of,
Hmm.
and we start as children taking care of our baby dolls, and then,
Yeah.
we meet a man and we get married and we're taking care of him, and we have children and we're taking care of them. And then we have aging parents and now we're taking care of them. And at some point, I feel like women say, you know what? This is my time. I want to start taking care of myself.
Yes.
And if a couple are not on the same page with different things that they enjoy doing together, I noticed that a lot of women, a lot of couples actually separate at that point because the empty nesters, and now you're looking at each other saying, now what?
Yeah.
What's next
Yeah.
for us?
Yeah, I think you have to really plan for it to be successful. And certainly I know plenty of people who have weathered it fine, but it can be hard. Also, just because, in menopause, it can be really challenging to sometimes manage your emotions, which can create new conflict that never existed before.
Yeah, good
And kind
point.
of like PMS, theoretically, like PMS is where the veil has lifted and you're more likely to see things that are bothering you and
Hmm.
speak about them. I think the same thing in menopause, like the thing that your husband's been doing for 25 years that you put up with, now you can't tolerate anymore. You're like, if you ever do that again, I'm going to murder you, and you mean it. And
Yes,
he's just like, what happened to my wife? I've been drinking my coffee like this every day for 30 years. Why do you hate me so much?
slurping or whatever.
Whatever.
So I want to end with, give us one piece of advice to every woman going through menopause right now. What would you say?
I will give you the advice that my father gave me almost every single day of my life. And if you can, well, two things, because I already started with this one. My father said to me every day, you are a river going down a mountain and nothing can stop you. Anytime you think that you can't, I want you to imagine that you're this vast and wide, the energy of a vast and wide river. And that river just thinks it's dead ending at a mountain. What would you do? You just go around it. You just figure it out. You would use your force to find your way. You will always find your way because you're a river going down a mountain. And
Wow, that's great advice. I love you, Father.
yeah, it's really powerful, right? Because it's like you think
Yes.
I can't do this, it's too hard. You're like, bitch, I'm a river going down a mountain. I'll figure it out. Like, and you call up that energy. You can't just say it, right? You have to be like, what's inside of me? Even if it's like frustrated, scared, or whatever, this is the feeling of a river going down a mountain. And there is a path forward, and I'm going to find it. And you just say it to yourself over and over. But another thing that I just started doing that I did learn from TikTok that's been really helpful, I'm really working on ways to find more self-love.
Okay.
And especially for women, just all of us, we have so much loathing. Even the healthiest woman I've ever met in my life still has a lot of self-loathing. And so experimenting with my own self-loathing, when I wake up in the morning and I have a lot of work to do, sometimes I can feel a little dread.
Yeah.
And so first, the first step is to really ask yourself, like you feel like it's not palpable. I mean, it's just like it's a little something, but just slow down just for a second while you're laying in bed and say, and ask yourself as if you were talking to your lover, what's going on? And listen. And then you're gonna be like, I don't know, I just have a lot to do today. You're gonna try and brush it off. And then you're like, I know you have a lot to just talk to it like your lover. You're like, I know you have a lot to do today. And it will seem like you're crazy. I know you have a lot going on, but you're going to crush it. You actually love all the people that you're meeting with today. And I know. And you just go into it and then you start just reassuring you like, I love you so much. I love you so much. I'm right here with you all day, every day, right here. And the whole cosmos is made up of us, right? Like we're just, our energy is the energy of the cosmos. And so all of it is all there, just cheering for you, helping you, supporting you, making sure that you get everything that you want and need. And I'm telling you, at the end of that little 2-minute conversation, you won't be upset anymore.
Wow.
It's really powerful. And but you have to really talk to yourself like it's your lover,
Yeah.
not your husband, your lover.
Right.
Like who you want is your lover, like your lover that you worship. And you're like, I just love you so much. And you say you're like, when you're saying that you're saying that to yourself
Yeah.
and accepting yourself and also mothering yourself and nurturing yourself, all the things that we didn't get enough of.
Right. No, we certainly did not. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was such a powerful conversation with you today. I'm so honored that you came on. Where could women find you?
So the best place to find me is our website, conceivable.com. Our app is not quite ready for menopause, but it will be this year. So all of you guys will still be in menopause at that point. So stay tuned. And if you're on TikTok, you can follow me at the period expert or your fertility expert.
Okay, great. Can you send that to me by email so I could put it in the show notes?
100% sure.
Thank you. Kirsten, this was such a pleasure. I appreciate you coming on, and I'd love to have you come back again.
Anytime, I'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Susan.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for joining us for this powerful conversation with Kirsten. I hope her wisdom, honesty, and practical tools help you feel more supportive, more informed, and more empowered on your own midlife journey. Remember, menopause is not the end of anything. It's the beginning of a deeper, wider, more aligned version of you. You deserve to feel vibrant, clear, strong, and connected in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. And the steps you take today truly matter. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend who could use a little encouragement or guidance during this time of life. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking care of yourself. And as always, keep healing, keep growing, and keep showing up with love for your mind, body, and soul. I'll see you next week.